Thursdays are for Metropol Debrief. A very good evening to you, and thank you very much for tuning into Metropol TV. You're right in time for Metropol Debrief. And tonight we have a brilliant show lined up for you. We'll be talking about the demonetization process. 30th September, which was the deadline, came and went, and it is believed that all Kenyans who had money and felt the need to convert it into the new generation currency did that, and the results were released. And today we just want to go through that whole process. Was it necessary? What did the government seek to achieve? Has it achieved its intended purpose? And moving forward, where do we go from here now that we've ticked demonetization out of our checklist? My name is Ndero Oganga. Now, in the last 1 year, there has been a rise in the number of cases of homemade fake 1,000 shillings notes being circulated in the market by foreigners with the help of Kenyan citizens. This is nothing new. We've seen those cases in Roysambu, Kilimani, among many other places. Now, to this end, this money laundering has been on the rise, and corruption, with the go-to currency being the 1,000 shillings notes. Now, as such, to curb these rising vices, the Central Bank of Kenya, in accordance with Article 231, subsection 2 of the Constitution of Kenya and Section 22, Part 3 of the Central Bank of Kenya Act, announced that it will be retiring the old 1,000 shillings notes, giving Kenyans 4 months to convert their old currency into the new generation 1,000 shillings Kenyan notes. Take a look. On the 1st of July, the Central Bank of Kenya unveiled new generation notes. With the new notes came the end of an era, a deadline for Kenyans to convert their old 1,000 shillings notes into new ones. Over a period of 4 months, Kenyans have made effort to change their money to beat the deadline. On Monday, the 30th of September, those who had not converted their cash made a final effort to get value of their old notes. The central bank thereafter held a press conference to give Kenyans a status update on how the demonetization process fared. According to the Central Bank of Kenya governor, the process was undertaken to curb vices such as counterfeiting, money laundering, and corruption.
There were two reasons, principal reasons. The first is to deal with the illicit financial flows that we have seen. The second is to deal with counterfeits that have begun to emerge.
However, the process was not short of challenges. There were glitches detected in the system and reported to relevant authorities. Further, banks equally turned down suspicious individuals who could not prove the source of their money, and going as far as shutting down their accounts altogether.
And during this period, June to September, 3,172 suspicious transactions were flagged. Now, that is a large number, 3,000, meaning the investigators need to follow this and try and connect the dots.
With demonetization complete, the Central Bank of Kenya governor termed it as a success with a 95% conversion rate. The old notes will be punched, shredded, and turned into powder. Thereafter, they'll be turned into briquettes, marking the end of the era of the old 1,000 shillings generation notes. Let's go through some of the numbers and see what they have to say in relation to the whole demonetization process. Now, there were 217 million pieces of old 1,000 shillings notes in the market. Now, that is all the money that was there, the old 1,000 shillings note. As you know it, this is the new generation. But the old one, there were 217 million pieces. Now, as of 30th September, 209 million pieces of the old 1,000 shillings note had been retrieved from the market. Now, this means that Kenyans who had the old 1,000 shillings note took the money to the bank, transferred it, and converted it into the new generation. And those pieces were 209 million. Now, this leaves a deficit of roughly 7 million pieces of 1,000 shillings notes that were not converted, to mean that as of 30th September, their value had gone to waste. Now, this translates to a 97% conversion rate. Thus, the process has been termed as a success. Well, you have to give it to them. If you score 97 even in any exam, that's a straight A. With the withdrawal, or rather after the withdrawal of the old 1,000 shillings note, the new generations have been pumped into the market. Now you might wonder how many pieces of the new 1,000 shillings note has the government pumped into the market. The pieces are 149 million pieces of the new 1,000 shillings notes. Now Kenya is not the first country to demonetize. There are several countries that have demonetized, Kenya just being the latest. However, other countries have demonetized for different reasons. For example, in November the 8th of 2016, the Indian Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, announced that demonetization will take place of their currency, commonly known as the note bandi, in an unscheduled live television address. Now, he announced that the notes of 500 rupee and 1,000 would be invalid past midnight, and in exchange for the old notes, the new rupees of 500 and 2,000 shillings will be issued. Now that is the case of India. Let's move closer home in Africa, where Zimbabwe also had to go through this process. Now, in order to stabilize, there you have it, in order to stabilize its economy, which was raked by hyperinflation that was recorded at 231 million%. The Zimbabwean government replaced the Zimbabwean dollar with the American dollar. Now, the process took 3 months to make the US dollar as the country's legal tender. Now, not everyone in Zimbabwe was happy with this decision, because just imagine you have a lot of Zimbabwean dollars and then now you're being told they're worthless, and now the currency that we'll be using is the American dollar. Now, because of the place that the Zimbabwean economy was, to convert the Zimbabwean dollar into the American dollar, the worth diminished by a great value, and wealth holders in the country criticized the move as it saw their value of their savings receding by a huge margin. For Australia in 1996, in order to curb black money and improve the security features, the Australian government replaced its paper-based notes with polymer banknotes of the same denomination. Now, the first polymer notes based was introduced in Australia in 1992. So those are just some of the countries who've gone through: Australia, India, Zimbabwe. And the case of India was very interesting because many people lost their money. They had a very short time span to convert their money, and people were throwing their money into the ocean and destroying it because they had no use for it, and it came under heavy critique for whether it worked or not. Now, for one reason or the other, different countries have taken this demonetization route. The question is, just like India, Australia, Zimbabwe, and even Kenya, does it end up achieving its goal, or is it just a show that wastes public time and resources? After the break, our guest joins us in studio to try and answer this question. Stay with Metropol TV.